Hello there. How are you doing? Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the No Ordinary Life podcast. It's great to have you on here. Now, before I continue, I just wanted to share a little bit on No Ordinary Life. No Ordinary Life is a careers motivation platform with the aim to inspire, to motivate, and encourage people in their personal growth and career development so that they achieve their goals and dreams. My name is Claudia Newton, and I'm the host and founder of No Ordinary Life. Before I continue to do the introduction of our guests, please make sure you hit the subscribe button if you're watching this on YouTube, and also if you're watching this on any other platform, please hit the closest button to subscribe to receive more of our content. Thank you very much. Also, we are a non-profit and social enterprise, so please make sure you check out our store, which is on our link tree, and the details are going to be on the screen if you're watching this on YouTube. If you're not watching this on YouTube, then I will spell it out or say it out for you. It is linktr.ee/No Ordinary Life. Now that includes links to all our content, including our website, our store, registration for our events, any announcements that we have, so on and so forth. So without further ado, let's get into the introduction. Hello, lovely people. Welcome to another episode of the No Ordinary Life podcast. If you are a regular listener, thank you so much for following our podcast. And if you're a new listener, then welcome to our podcast. Today, we are going to be discussing on the topic of sports and lessons learned through sports. Our special guest will be introducing himself very shortly, but I'm going to very briefly touch on a little bit on who he is. He is an influential leader, sports leader, based in Ghana, Ghanaian, and he is a founder of multiple organizations. He is very passionate about sports, and in his own words, he describes his mission as to create and inspire sports programs and organizations in Africa to build sports to enable people to make a difference, to make a living, and to make a statement. So welcome to our platform, Isaac Robert Kwapong. It's lovely to have you here with us. Who is Isaac Robert Kwapong?
So Isaac Kwapong is a Jesus lover who is passionate about sports, love young people, and want to see young people unearth and live out their full potential in adding value, to the world that they live in. That's Isaac Kwapong. I'm a sports entrepreneur, sports consultant, character and leadership coach. Been in the sports for development and school sports industry for a little over 10 years. I've had the privilege of working with various international schools and one of the world's top youth academies. Currently consulting for, and also currently the athletic coordinator for one of the top international schools in Ghana. That is the RAN International School. The founder and director of Impact Youth Foundation, one of the up-and-coming and leading sports for development organizations in Ghana, with our new initiative called Sports Leadership Academy, which is a youth-based sports initiative that seeks to redefine recreational and competitive sports when it comes to development, when it comes to helping young people to use sports to make a living, to make a difference, and make a statement. So yeah, I'm all about sports, leadership, character building, and creating a valuable and a prosperous, community that we live in.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Right. So if I was to ask people to describe you in 3 words, what 3 words would come up often?
Integrity, compassion, excellence.
Integrity, compassion, excellence.
Yeah.
All right, great.
Welcome.
So you talked about sports a lot. So another one that's not in the question bank is,
Sure.
what is your favorite sport?
My favorite sport, definitely, if we talk about my forte, something that I've played and been more involved in, I would say basketball. But I love sports. Football was my first passion. Wanted to, I wanted to be a Black Star player. That was one of my first, aspirations, to actually play for Ghana and actually be a goalkeeper for Ghana one day. So my first sports love is football, you know, but along the line, got interested in basketball, and I guess God called me to use basketball more. But I'm generally a sports person. I tell people I can play every sport. Yes. The only reason why you don't see me play is because maybe I've not had the chance to play. But if I put my mind to it, I can play.
Wow, amazing. Okay. So having a future Black Star player. I'm sure we'll not be where we are right now. Okay, thank you very much for that, Isaac. So we're talking about no ordinary life, and everyone has a story. So this is going to be about you and your childhood and your aspirations and your dreams. What was your dream as a child and growing up?
Dream as a child, I think it evolved. It didn't change. I think like I said, my first passion and my first dream was to become a goalkeeper, for the Black Stars, because I used to idolize Ghana's former number one goalkeeper called Ali Jarrah, who, for me at an early age, when I started to actually be able to make sense of sports and watching Black Stars around when I was 7, I saw him in post for Ghana, and everybody used to talk about him, and I saw how he goalkeeped. And I was very passionate about it. So as early as 7, I was actually goalkeeping for my community, one of my community teams. I grew up in Mamprobi. Many people don't know that. My mom was a police officer, so I grew up early stages with my mom, and we're in the police barracks. So that was my number one passion, and my first ambition was to be Ghana's number one goalkeeper. But over the years, I think it evolved or it changed. But the passion for sports was always there. Going through primary school, going through high school, my parents were not so keen on how passionate I was about sports, because, in Ghana, growing up back in the days, there was no model or example when it comes to, sports, someone who has actually made it through sports in Ghana and actually was living a good life, or maybe had made a great outcome of their life through sports locally, because they used to call people who play sports back in the days kobolos. That means that once you are passionate in playing sports, you automatically flunk out of school, and you are not so, focused on your education. So my parents never encouraged me, in sports. It became more like one of the main things that my parents were like, I've warned you not to play sports, because I always come back dirty. I'm always the one who's always like with the ball. Anything around sports is me. But I think along the line, I definitely got to realize that, I can't do anything about it. It was something that God had called me to, because interestingly, my dad was very passionate about sports. My dad was very, involved and very invested in the Accra House of Folk back in the days. But I think his own, him being in that mix, and actually he was a very well-to-do administrator in the construction field, but he was also very, passionate about sports. But I'm sure his involvement in sports, he really got to see and know that, listen, there's nothing in sports for Ghana at that point in terms of anybody making a good living if sports was going to be their main priority, So he really didn't encourage me, but it was still there. Went through Presbyterian Boys Senior High School, secondary school, one of the top secondary schools in Ghana. Going through that, it was there that I started to kind of have a whole sense of sports in its entirety, in terms of not really focusing on playing, but also focusing on what makes the sport, interesting and attractive. So admin, sports organization, all of those stuff. So I started to just develop, a passion to kind of build and then so be involved in making sports more valuable in Ghana. So that became my passion and my dream in senior high school. At that point, I'd become born again, so I'd been reading the Bible more, and my way of thinking had changed from just myself to more about others, and thinking about how can I be more valuable, So that became a passion now. Sports, how can I use sports to impact people? How can I use sports to help people to make a living, and also let sports be used in the right way and make sports valuable in Africa? So that became my passion right from senior high school.
That's very interesting that you mentioned how, sports has been the main thing. I don't know if you did a sports degree or something. I don't know if there's even a degree like that. What did you actually study for your degree, and how did you transition from to where you are now?
It was two things, or maybe two. It was one of the things that people didn't know about me. I'm sure if I say it, yourself are going to be like, oh, really? But my background is computer science. Uni, I did computer science and management. But my passion for basketball and for sports was there before even I went to university. So actually, when I got to university, that is when I kind of took it to that next level because the university I went to didn't have any sports whatsoever. So that was where kind of I also had, I'll say the next step of my calling was like, can we have a sports team in the school? So I, right from my first year, went around trying to organize, our first basketball team. We were only two, myself and another friend, for a whole year. We were practicing on the court. Everybody thought I was crazy. But the following year, basketball and sports became a big thing in the university after everybody saw that we're really dedicated to it. So at that point, very passionate about sports. But I'll say my kind of the experiences around me, seeing people who are very passionate about sports, young people, but then were not able to use the sport, but rather became victims of the sport, kind of was one of the things that God drew my attention to see a need, and see that there was a big gap. And at that very early stage, I became very conscious of people using the sport for good rather than them being used by the sport, because it's still there. People are very transactional, when it comes to sports, especially in Africa. So it's about using young people to make money or use them for fame, and young people dedicate their whole life to playing sport. They want greener pastures, want to go and play in the NBA or play in a football club team outside. But then many of them end up being victims of it because people take advantage of them and everything. So that became something that was very loud to me in terms of how can I make a difference, So that was, even though I was pursuing my computer science and everything, it became something that I was very conscious about. And that was how, I kind of started to really get into sports, and not just sports, but sports admin. When I was in the university still doing my computer science, I remember telling my parents that I wanted to actually pause in my third year to kind of divert from computer science and pursue sports admin, because I was really looking for, like, just like you were asking me about, is there even anything like a sports degree? Now there is. The universities are doing it, but it's not so loud or not so out there, But back in the days, there was nowhere to try and look for a sports management, degree. So I found someone online when I was in the university. And I was telling my dad that, and my parents, that can you just give me the money for the rest of my education in university so that I can just stop this computer science and go and do the sports admin. But, he thought I was crazy, but fast forward, God doing his own thing. We left university, went to pursue sports admin, did my sports administration certificate with sports management worldwide based in the US. It was an online certification for a year, which literally opened my whole mind to sports business and sports, marketing, sports management, because I had followed the NBA for a long time in terms of I enjoyed the game, enjoyed watching it, but I always had the question of what makes the NBA the NBA. So American sports was always like something that I kind of looked up to, because I when you see it, it's out there, it's glittery, it looks very attractive. So for me, my model of sports was American sports. So having to find a sports certification, program like sports management worldwide, was something that I was like, listen, it's expensive, but they were giving some discounts. I just saved up all my money, put it in there, did that 1 year certification course, and that really opened my mind to the knowledge, that was available in terms of making sports, valuable, and making sports a vehicle for transformation. So the passion was there, but God had to lead me to find the knowledge and the information, that I could kind of now use that and use my background, my experience, my network at that point, to kind of see how best I can add value. So that was way back around 2007, that I started that. And it became something that I was very passionate about and became a calling. And I just kept staying with it. Definitely felt like giving up many times, but God has been good.
Wow, that's amazing. So just to clarify, you still have your computer science degree.
Okay. So I'm going to blow your mind here. So I don't have a degree.
Okay.
So I don't have a degree. That's surprising, right?
So you actually told your parents, and you actually went ahead and stopped the course.
I stopped. Yeah, I literally went through my whole 4 years, did my research, finished my paper, like literally finished. I still have my transcript and everything, but I left before graduation. I'm like, listen, because in the middle of along the line, just before I graduated, my dad couldn't pay my school fees anymore. I was a 3.8 student in university until I got to my third year, because until I was getting to my fourth year, because I started being kicked out of class because I couldn't pay my school fees.
Wow.
So I wasn't allowed to write exams in some of my papers in my third year, but I still went to my fourth year, and I still didn't have money to kind of pay my last part of my school fees. So my mom, who was staying she had retired and gone back to her hometown, sent me part of my school fees. And I was like, listen, I already had a computer science certification before I even entered the university, because I got a scholarship to pursue programming, Java, everything. So I already had that computer science knowledge and experience doing computer science and everything. So I was like, I took a chance. I was like, listen, if I don't have all the money, I'm very passionate about sports, and if I've already been kicked out from four papers already, I have to come back and rewrite. Where am I going to find the money? So I literally just, prayed to God, and during one of my last papers in my fourth year, I literally just walked out. All my mates were looking at me. I was like, this guy is crazy. I was like, listen, I have this money. I'm going to use it to start my first sports company. So I stepped out and created my first company, went to register. It was called Dynasty Basketball then in 2007. Yes. And
Wow.
The rest is history. Nobody knows this. This is the first time I've actually shared that openly. So
wow. So I'm happy that we've been able to uncover this secret, because we're all about careers, and we just want to find out, how people get from where they are or where they started to where they are now. And there's a huge misconception that you need to have a degree to be successful. And so your secret or your story shows that you don't necessarily need to have a degree. And I guess for you, passion played a role in where you are now. But what would you say is also another ingredient that helped you to get to where you are now? A passion.
For me, I'd say, passion is one. At a very like at high school, graduating high school, I kind of, God helped me to find my purpose, very early. So it was more of purpose. I was purpose driven, and knowing my purpose kind of really got me very focused on what I wanted to do, and I was ready to take the risk, of just trying, and didn't know how the outcome was going to be, even though I had a vision of what I wanted the outcome to be. So purpose is very key, purpose is very key. Some people, it takes a long time for them to discover their purpose. But that's where, for me, I comes into, that other aspect of life, which is the spiritual aspect of life, which helps you kind of discover your purpose very early, depending on how you focus on, your source. So my purpose is very important. And I think purpose was what kind of guided me to take that bold step. And also definitely looking at, the environment I grew up in and the challenges I went through, trying to make the best out of it, rather than me just, sobbing and seeing myself as a victim. I always had the positive outcome, or looking at where's the light in this dark tunnel, and looking for the best option. Yeah.
Okay. So you use your own life story to inspire other young people, basically. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming that as you're talking to people, there some of them who feel like they have their purpose is to be a sports person, but maybe their family or their friends discourage them from pursuing sports. So how do you go about, what do you say to them to help them to know how to make up their mind with what the pressure they're having and expectations as well?
One thing that I tell people, I've told young people who are very passionate about sports, and many a times even it's a whole challenge in the house or in their home, where their parents are like, listen, go to school, focus on your books, or parents are struggling. A lot of parents are struggling with their children who are very passionate about sports, especially in Africa, where there's no avenue because the schools don't really support student athletes or create an enabling environment for them. One thing I tell them is this: listen, no matter what, you still can't let your passion, cause you to make foolish decisions. You can't put all your eggs in, I'll say, in one basket. My situation was different. Anybody who's kind of doesn't understand your passion for sports, and by the same time, they are encouraging you to kind of, let's say, quote unquote, pursue education a bit more. It's just that they have your interest at heart, because they don't want you to become a victim, So at the same time, understand where they are coming from, but that should not kill your passion, But in the bigger picture, you have to look for a bigger purpose of what are you going to use your passion for? Is it just about you making a living? If it's just about you making a living, then I would say that fuel can easily die out, because just when if you are just living to make a living, it is not enough. That passion cannot sustain you. So you need to just find out what I really want to play football. I wouldn't want to play basketball. What am I looking to use that to do in terms of, making a difference in this world? If you don't find that, then that fuel of just wanting to play to maybe want to just make a living can easily be cut short, especially when you get an injury or when you realize that, it's tough to go through. Then you realize that, I don't want to do this again. Then at that point, it becomes like, oh, I regret not listening to my parents and everything. So discover the purpose of the passion, Then even with that, you can even realize that, oh, I don't really even need to play to become professional before I can even use the sport. I can do, there are so many, opportunities in sports outside of playing. And that's one thing that a lot of people in Africa need to begin to understand, and people are beginning to understand a bit more. But I think just creating an enabling environment, right from, especially in our school systems where majority of the kids spend their time, where we can really help student athletes to become who they are, and also help them to be able to use the sport to make a difference, to make positive statements, So for me, that is how I kind of guide young people to really look at the bigger picture and see that they can use their passion to make a bigger, impact in the world, so that it goes beyond just, I just want to play. But okay, I do need education to make the best out of it, because despite the fact that I left the university, everything else I pursued I pursued education. It wasn't a degree, but it was certifications, it was training courses, online reading. The amount of knowledge or the amount of books I've read and resources I've read online, you have no idea, on sports, and I might not have a paper to show it, but my life shows it. My works show it. My works shows the level of investment I've made in terms of knowledge.
Yeah. So let's talk about your CV. So you set up the company in 2007, you said?
Yep, 2007.
Okay. And that was remind me of the name again.
Dynasty. It was called Dynasty Basketball.
Okay. And then you set up another organization.
Yep, it's evolved. So it literally evolved. So Dynasty Basketball was set up as a basketball organization, and basically we're looking to promote youth sports in Ghana. That's how I started in 2007. And then in 2009, out of my engagements with the first volunteer who took a risk to travel all the way from America, he was a college student. In 2008, took the risk to travel. I'd never traveled outside his state, even his town in the US. He was in Oregon University, took a risk to travel to come and work with me for 3 months, in basketball, because he saw my stuff online. I was using my computer science to create my website and share my information there, my basketball aspirations and things we're doing. And he came in to work with me for 3 months when he was in his third year in university. And he literally opened my eyes to even running camps, So right after 2008, when he left, he had taught me and given me a lot of knowledge about how to run camps and how to run small programs and leagues. So I started the first open basketball camp in Ghana in 2009. So that was the beginning. And guess what? This young man called Brian Gamroth, who took the risk to come to work with me, his first ever, experience outside of his town. He's now working in the NBA. He's now he's one of the he's now working in the NBA. He's one of the NBA international coordinators now. So and we always talk back, like we always refer back to those moments and how those moments were defining for all of us. So it's from there. I just literally invested myself into it. Like when I left the university in my last year or my last few months, I pursued sports admin. So then at that point, I started to understand whole school sports. I realized that one of the best places or the most important places for sports to really thrive was school. So started to really invest, myself in school programming. So I also did my service. I decided to do my national service with the Ghana Basketball Association, because I was very in tune with basketball and learning more about basketball admin. I saw a lot of need with Ghana Basketball, so I decided to invest my 1 year of my national service to go and volunteer as a service personnel for the Ghana Basketball, help them to put documents together, sports admin. I was learning a lot about FIBA, that's the Federation of International Basketball Association. So I was taking all those knowledge and applying it, in everything that I was doing. Right from there, I decided to just go full. I literally I've never applied to work anywhere before. If I tell you that, like I've not written an application letter whatsoever. So I literally for 7 years just doing all of that, helping the Ghana Basketball, with their various stuff, whilst also running my camps and helping young people to discover themselves through basketball. Got the chance to I started supporting schools where I was just recruiting people who wanted to go into PE, because in Ghana, in Africa, even most of the sports directors are PE masters. So I was like, listen, there needs to be a shift in the mindset. So I started to, and I realized a lot of people who were into sports wanted to be going to PE, that's physical education. So I started to recruit people who were looking for employment in physical education, and then helping and reorienting their mind, and then placing them in schools. So then they go into schools with the mindset of, making a difference, not just about just going there to teach PE, but also going there to add to the sport. So I became a consultant at a very early age, just consulting for schools, and alongside doing my basketball. So I was just consulting for schools, also doing my website, using that as my small gigs here and there. Then went on to work for, I was called to come and serve in one of the international schools called Ghana Christian International School, where I went to I used it as my workspace to try all the sports, school sports knowledge I had learned. By God's grace, in 2 years, transformed the sports program there. It became one of the leading international, private schools in terms of sports. And right from there, went to work. Lincoln came in poaching me. Lincoln Community School, which is also one of the international American schools in Ghana. Went there to work for 2 years. And then right from there, went to Right to Dream Academy, which is one of the top football academies in the world. My good friend Tom, who I had met him in 2010 through the camps I was trying to do, went there to work for 3 years as a head of character development, and because I'm very passionate about character development. And then, when from there, it became more like, I was like, okay, I need to serve, because I'd never had any interest to go and work for someone. But I realized that, it's not about working for someone, it's about working with people, so that kind of change in mindset, it wasn't more about, because, there was always this thing about, when I'm working for someone, they will control you, like they will do this. But I was like, nah, I kind of got a new mindset of whatever I want to build, I cannot build it without people, and I cannot build it without also adding value or experience or having experience. So going to work for all of these organizations, work with all of these organizations really started to open me up to a network, that I could, build on, and knowledge and experiences that then went on to me reestablishing Dynasty Basketball as Impact Youth Foundation, right. out of all the experiences and that Dynasty had gone through. We had to reestablish ourselves to really, define who we really are. The name was more, could define itself without you even asking anything. If I tell you the organization name is called Impact Youth, you could easily tell that, okay, it's an organization that impacts the youth. So that re-establishment in 2018 got us to really focus on the purpose of sports in terms of sports for development, and really using sports as a vehicle and a tool for transformation.
We talked about sports and leadership and character development. Being a sports coach or working in sports leadership, how do you think that sports develops character?
Sports creates an environment that, it reveals, first of all, it reveals character, before you can even use it to refine character. Sports reveals character, because within sports, your passion, you express your passion. And in expressing your passion, many times you don't look at who's looking at you. Your passion can just get you to do things without you even being conscious of your environment. But that is truly who you are, So sports, first of all, for me, I see that it reveals character. But the experiences within sports, you can use it to refine your character, because it engages you in different scenarios. It's if you're into sports, even when you're playing an individual sport, you still have to work with people. You need to work with a coach. You need to learn to be coachable. Being able to be coachable means you're able to listen, you're able to take information and apply it in the way it should be used. So even in that kind of experience, you're able to refine your character of, being a good listener, or a skill of being a good listener, but the value of patience. be able to learn patience, to be able to not be in a hurry. John Wooden, who's one of the greatest coaches in the world, says that be quick, but don't be in a hurry. So you're able to learn patience in that situation. The Bible talks about character, through perseverance and tribulation, you're able to develop patience, and sports creates that environment where you go through tribulation, you go through challenges, you go through falls, that you're able to use that to build patience, because that, listen, I didn't get it this time, but I can go back to it and build myself up to get it again. So that builds it. So the experiences in sports helps you to be able to develop leadership skills and leadership values. Those are two things that many people need to be able to differentiate and also see the connection, that you can have skills, but without the values, you can't make the best out of your skills. So you can have leadership skills like communication and everything, but you need the values, you need the moral compass to be able to really use them towards a defined purpose of making an impact. So sports does that. And unfortunately, the world that we live in, sports has been abused in so many ways, where you have more practices, you have bribery, you have all those things like betting, people going back to do sort of things. So many people compromise the environment, of sports, such that, yes, people say fair play, but many times it just remains our words. But people don't really live it out. But when you go to an environment where sports is really being used intentionally, you're able to see how people's character and values are refined and how they're able to add value to other people.
Wow, that's very, very true. So in the few words I can say, sports helps to develop the characters of teamwork, patience, resilience, also, I suppose, even humility, because if you win one time, you can't let it get into your head and think that you're the best. You have to remain humble and know how to go again the next time and do it again, and also sympathize with those who have also lost at that time. So that's a good character to have. And I really appreciate that you've touched on those things. Okay. So my last question is also now based on yourself. It's a difficult one, but I think you have the words. So what is one word that describes your life journey?
One word that describes my life journey. There's many, but I'll say diligence.
Okay.
I'll say diligence. The Bible says that seeth a man diligent in his ways, and he shall walk before kings. When you are diligent, in everything you do, it will be tough, but you always come out victorious.
Thank you so much for sharing your story with us, Isaac. And I hope that we get the chance to have more conversations on sports, on leadership, on character, and all the things that you're passionate about. And I would definitely say that we've achieved one thing today, and that's knowing your big secrets, which is not a secret anymore once this is out. Thank you so much. Is there anyone you want to give a shout out to before we end this episode?
Thank you very much, Claudia, for this opportunity. It's been great speaking with you, engaging with you on your podcast. No ordinary life. Exactly. Nobody lives an ordinary life. Trust me. We are all made to be extraordinary. We all are some little elements of difference to this world. So thank you for this great podcast. Definitely big shout outs to God Almighty for giving me life and every day and calling me to this great purpose, of adding value to others, and also making myself more useful in this world. So big shout outs to God, all my family, my wife, my 3 kids. People don't know I have 3 kids. When I tell people I have 3 kids, they're surprised. advocates. Yeah, to my mentors, people who've inspired me, guided me, encouraged me, supported me. There are many, that if I can't even mention names, there are too many. But yeah, big ups to everyone who lives on purpose and is focused on adding value, not just to themselves but to others. Let's keep it going, and this is what makes the world a better place. And let's continue being legendary, and let's continue being to make a difference and make a statement. And at the end, we'll all make a living for sure. Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Claudia. Appreciate it.